Oh, shoot. Okay. My bad.
All right. So we still there's 40 minutes was not nearly enough time because we still got plenty to go. Real quick, just on the franchise development side, we've opened 6 new stores in 2025. Our plan for franchise growth in 2026 is going to be brownfield expansion, not greenfield, which means we're going to be going continue to go after dark sites um, and try to grow by selling territories in places where there's a facility existing, as opposed to trying to build um, on expensive land with expensive buildings, albeit less expensive than our peers. We can't really hide behind saying we're less expensive than everyone else because, like, it doesn't like that doesn't matter. They're a lot of them are in trouble, and so we're not gonna be like our competitors and build sites on uh, plots of land that has a Valvoline down the street or a Jiffy down the street or all of them. Um, our opportunities in 2026 continue to be fleet services. That's the easiest way for franchisees to grow the business without having to go knocking on doors. We have the playbook in YouTube on how to do cold outreach and warm outreach without having to do the things that a lot of people don't like to do, which is like cold calling, things like that. The price point friendly synthetic push. I again, as an earlier, I think that we need to have a conversation as a team about more people doing the $50 oil change and moving to full synthetic only. Um, the numbers are the numbers, right? So the corporate stores did with less stores, the corporate stores did a lot more cars than the franchise stores did in 2025, and then with a emphasis on looking at AUVs and ticket average doesn't mean hard selling. I think that's an important thing as well. Um, no hard upsells is not the same thing as no cross selling. And I think that narrative might have been lost. And I think some of it has to do with the way that I'm not sure how we got to a point where there were people who believe that we shouldn't do any upsells. Like, we've always talked about our ancillary products, but when we have talked to some franchisees that are struggling with ticket average and talked about ways to sell things, it's some of the pushback we would get is like, "Oh, we thought we weren't supposed to sell other things," and I don't know where that came from because we've always talked about um, warm sales versus cold sales to customers. Whenever we've talked about um, the uh, our core values and just strategy for selling things. Um, but development and growth next year will require us to have a focus on ticket average, which is something traditionally we haven't been too focused on. But now that almost all of the corporate stores, with the exception of the few stores that we opened in the last year or so, are mature, um, we are going to now move ourselves towards looking for ticket average. The other thing that we are introducing on this town hall is the reintroduction of costafilters.com. Um, we have set up a warehouse in Maryland for our products, which includes uh, air filters as well as oil filters. We have over 150 SKUs. They're all on the website. There will be a lookup tool. This is more of a consumer facing website. This is not something that's mandatory. This is not something you have to buy. It's not something that is necessary. But where I can, I want to match Service Champ's pricing. I think that um, this can help not only with brand building, but also the quality of the products is better than Service Champ. The filters also this time around are bright yellow, so they're actually really nice for the techs, very easy to find. Our supplier strategy in 2026 remains pretty much the same. We are with Chevron. Obviously, there's a couple franchisees that are not with Chevron, and then the vast majority of us do use Service Champ, um, and that economies of scale helps us with negotiating with them. Um, we are looking into opening our own Parts Plus distributorship in the same vein that a lot of Jiffy Lube franchisees had opened up Mighty Auto franchises to self distribute to themselves. I had mentioned Parts Plus in the past. Via our relationship with Rick Ware Racing and NASCAR, we have an opportunity to potentially open our own distributor business. Again, I'm never one to deal in to engage in self dealing, so I'm not going to make it mandatory that you have to buy from us if we do go this route. But when it makes sense, um, it could be helpful for everyone. Technology and support, the Square point of sale system, I'm gonna move forward a slide real quick. We really need to w we we really need to utilize Square, for all of the resources that it has. The point of sale system that you guys use, that we all use with the Square point of sale system is so advanced for not costing any money, and the equivalent you would get by using other software, I mean, it is seriously like a 5,000 to $10,000 a month point of sale system capability, that if you were somewhere else, not necessarily in the quick lube space, but like maybe like a restaurant or something, you'd be paying a lot more money for this. I just think we've vastly underutilized Square and its full capabilities, not only from the reporting standpoint, but the app marketplace, etc. One of the best things that Ryan did bring to us was the Go High level. And although that all it was a white label version of the software, uh, thanks to Deb's hard work, we've been able to capture all of the upside of Go High level without having to pay Ryan anything. And so we have not lost any capabilities on the Go High level support side. Deb and Brandon both have become very proficient with that software. Um, and it's a incredible tool for us as a system to continue to use. Uh, Chatway, which is our chat bot that we have on the website, has become incredibly useful. And because we still continue to get growth in terms of traffic to the website, we handle a lot of inbound support on behalf of the franchisees. Obviously, some of you might have already dealt with a chatway message where Deb might have reached out and be like, "Hey, do you have a answer for this so I can reply?" But day in day out, we average over 20 messages a day on chatway, sometimes more, sometimes less, and that is a service that was not something we ever really intended to be. Um, like a system-wide thing, but it ended up being it, and it's been a huge benefit to everyone, in the system. We are phasing out lookup.costaoils.com. We are not a technology company, and we are not in the business of building a SaaS product, and while I do appreciate Michael Abdy's attempt to try to create a proprietary lookup system for us, it makes no sense for us to continually spend tens of thousands of dollars to keep the APIs uh, when they are offered for free if you sign up with someone like a PM attendant or an eGenuity or an ISI. We're essentially just shifting that cost away from us in the back office, and you can continue to use AMSOIL partnered with ServiceChampFilters.com. You can use other services. There are ways to get this information without having to spend money, um, but we are reducing the technology fee in response to this uh, in, I believe, January, if we haven't already. I'll have to get with JP on that. Oil U continues to be our content center. We are going through a phase of trying to revamp it. I have found, and from feedback from my employees, that the videos we put on YouTube are much more useful, and so I think that it would benefit a lot of folks to familiarize themselves with the YouTube channel. But Oil U, obviously, from a learning management standpoint, is still where we do our training for employees and for franchisees. But the YouTube channel might have more direct answers to a lot of the common questions you guys ask. I don't make a video unless it's something that comes across my desk so many times that it makes sense to make a video about it. All right, the last thing on the agenda for today's town hall is a couple of opportunities. I think I don't want to get too much into this, but we had a franchisee that had some legal problems that were incredibly serious, and they threatened the what I would say is the integrity of my name. This business is not a vanity project for me. I've never been married to the name. Obviously, for some of you that have been around since the very beginning, I've attempted to rebrand before. It's not something that I'm married to the idea that we have to rebrand, but I do want to open the conversation back up that if an opportunity came along with a brand to rebrand us that values everybody and also reduces some of the systemic risk of my name being the brand, I think it's something we should seriously consider. It's not something we would do on a whim. It's not something we would do in a flimsy manner. It would be something that would have to make sense for everybody involved. But the opportunities that it could create would be increasing the territory resale value. It could be increasing the value of the business as a whole. It could be increasing your customer base because we're associated with a well-known brand. Um, and so that's just another topic that may come up in 2026. The second part of this conversation is licensing opportunities. I was having this conversation internally with our staff about how we left a lot of meat on the bones with the $50 oil change because we couldn't use some of the content because we were always so worried about getting um, upsetting the franchisees, whether it was by doing a $50 oil change or promoting a $50 oil change. And um, so, what we think could be a fair compromise here is opening the system to being allowed to do a licensing branding program. As most of you know, the oil change space falls into three categories. You have full-fledged franchises, you have installer programs, and then you have we feature programs. And installer programs are like Mobile One Lube Express, Castrol Premium Express Lube, uh, Chevron Express Lube, Haveline Express Lube, Valvoline Express Care. Um, National Oil and Lube magazine provides a guide to all of those programs every single year. And so there's a precedence for this already. There's a precedent for this already in terms of there are grease monkeys that operate as Haveline Express Lubes. There are grease monkeys that operate as Mobile One Lube Express. Um, if you enter into one of these programs, it's not like an exiting of the system. You would still be within our system. You would still get our oil change support. We wouldn't assist with anything on that side of the system. But the thought process behind allowing this is one, if a franchisee feels as though they're going to get more value out of their store by associating with a larger brand and thus justifying their ability to ask for a higher price point. I don't want to get in the way of someone doing that. However, it has been frustrating for me running stores as franchise locations to get pushback from franchisees about how I market my business when I've gone way out of my way to allow people to run their business the way that they want to run their business. And I got a lot of pushback for moving to the $50 oil change, moving to um, full synthetic only and moving and running those promotional months where we did the $35 oil changes because a hypothetical person might show up at someone's store with a $35 coupon and I shouldn't be expected to honor this, which you're not, by the way. That option, you have an option, you can turn them away if you want. Oh, but that impacts my guest customer experience. Well, you know not running this as a dictatorship has impacts on how I run my business as well, and it's called a compromise. And I think it's important that we as a system compromise on these things. And I think this is a more than fair way to potentially compromise on the uh, the direction that we're going as a system, because I feel that those who have tried our program and mimicked our ads and increased their car count saw that they got that uh, value out of it by the increased car count, by the employees being more satisfied with their work, by having more at bats to sell something. And those who had tried it and it didn't help them out, or they felt like they weren't getting value out of it, they probably didn't have the staff ready to do such a thing. They probably did not take advantage of the extra at bats to sell more things. And that causes problems as well. But that's what we are here for as a franchise system, is to support and take a look at that and say, okay, this is why we feel those things are happening. Anyway, it's not mandated. It's not, it's just something that we want to give anyone the opportunity who is interested in doing that, the opportunity to do it, and um with our blessing, and not feel as though they're, you know, bucking the system. So I'm going to I'm going to now open it up to questions, and we should have plenty of time. So, um, Deb, did I just take back host from you?
I didn't see anything pop up.
Okay. Well, just let me know when that 10-minute thing
Yeah,
comes back.
I will speak
You
up.
might not even need it.
Okay.
We'll Brandon, go ahead and curate questions.
Yeah, sure. Anybody have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and then we'll call on you. Or you can go ahead and unmute. Okay, if nobody has any questions, I'll give it about another minute and then we'll end.
So one thing that I want to mention is, we, in the beginning of last year, at last year's year-end town hall, we moved to state that Slack is the official form of communication for our system. We continued to use people's personal emails for quite some time. We then stopped sending out um, emails via uh, the personal emails, and then we stopped sending out emails to company emails, and now all communication is on Slack. I think some folks found out that if they have questions, we can do a lot of good on Slack faster. And I know some of you don't like Slack, but at the end of the day, it is the easiest way for us to have scale in terms of information and helping people. So we're going to continue to use Slack. If you don't have a question that you want to ask, I see Armin has a question in a second here, but if you don't want to ask it in front of everyone, you can always ask it in your channel, and we will always get around to it. So,
All right.
Armin, what is your question?
You mentioned something about directing people back to Google or something. Can you explain what that meant? I'm kind of confused because I never really did anything with Google before.
So So Google puts a value on different behaviors in terms of up-ranking websites. And so when you have a website, you have a Google My Business profile, there's an order at which you are listed. And the higher that you are on that order, the more likely you are going to be clicked on by a potential consumer. In the past, the 3 links at the top of the Google results was the most coveted place. And then they created Google Ads, and then the first 3 links, people paid to be the first 3 links. Then people kind of got hip to that, and they started ignoring those first 3 links. And people started going to basically that little map widget. So when you search for something like best ice cream in Chalmette, it gives you the map, and then it lists the different locations that sell ice cream. When you have your Google My Business profile, anything that pulls a consumer back to Google will be weighted higher. So if someone leaves a review, you get a notification that pulls you to Google. When you go to Google and you send them a reply to your review, that sends them a notification that you replied, and that pulls them back to Google. When you do a Google My Business update, there's a internal Google link with that update. It's a action that will pull them further into Google. So it's a behavior that they put a higher weight on. So when there's a business that is constantly updating their Google My Business profile, when there's a business that's constantly replying to reviews, they are more likely to be ranked higher. And in the past, one of the things that they cared about was how many different websites were backlinking to a website. That's no longer the case. You can start a website tomorrow, and if you know how to optimize for SEO, you can be the top ranked chiropractor tomorrow with a simple WordPress website with good SEO. So
Mhm.
that's what that reference is.
Okay, so we should be like updating pictures and whatnot pretty often just to get some feedback to Google.
Yes.
Updating. Yeah. Go ahead, Deb.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you are on calls with me weekly or monthly, you'll hear me say, or I've done a review of your online sites lately. I'm always looking at Google and saying, add more pictures, and also add, they used to call it updates, but now they call it posts. So that's what Costa was referencing as far as doing a post, and he's gonna do some of those on your behalf, but you can also add your update yourself.
So we can actually make posts on Google.
Yes, I'll drop something.
Okay.
A lot of people have heard me talk about it, or I've done a recent site review. In fact, I have Sean Met on my list to do a review of your social before the end of the year, but I'll drop something in the main channel that shows where that is.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, sure.
So
Awesome.
I'm gonna just share my screen again real quick. So I just Googled Costa Oil Gibsonia. Right here is the posts. Another thing that you can do is answer these questions as well. That is another thing that they really like. Adding all of your profiles and just having a very holistic Google My Business um, widget, I guess they would call it. But there's some new things here. Like I noticed this today, this add map to your website. So whenever you are the owner, so it says you manage this business profile. Whenever you're the owner of a profile and you search that profile, there's always going to be this carousel of things that you can do. And Google is the funny thing is like Google gives you the playbook for what they want. And so I have 5 reviews that I have to respond to. Um, they I can create an offer. They'll like that. Um, just clicking on all of these things and doing them, confirming your holiday hours. If you constantly are doing the things in this carousel, you're going to be ranked higher for oil change near me, which at the end of the day, oil change near me, cheapest oil change, those the most common terms. Oil change. So I mean, Armand, you're the top. Because you're the top ranking, and this is not a your website is the very first link. I don't know who this in and out is, but you're above Take 5. Um, I mean, you're the first result on not only the links, but you're the first result on the Google Map. Firestone is paying to be at the top. This is
Uh,
something that they recently allowed, is you can pay to be at the top of the map widget. But you're already the first result, and this is not like a skewed, like I'm not a manager of this profile, so this is a totally organic result.
anybody that searches that, that's what's going to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Costa, if I could jump in just really quickly, the difference I always talk about between Google and Facebook, because those are our two biggest advertising areas that we can work in, is Google is going to be your proactive customer. They're physically typing in oil change near me, cheapest oil change, affordable, full synthetic. Facebook's going to be your reactive. So they're the ones that are scrolling through Facebook at night, sitting on the couch, or they're at work, and they see the offer, they see the deal, and they say, that's really good. We're going to go to there, and they go to your shop from there. Both are definitely needed, and that's something that Deb and I have been talking about for a long time as well on our calls. So both are definitely something that you're going to want to do. And Deb just linked in the optimizing your Google profile as well. So if you're not doing Google right now, you definitely should be. It's definitely a really good way to get new customers in, especially people that are being proactive and Googling where to get their next oil change. Going over to Ben, he put something in the chat. He said, I've been doing $50 full synthetic coupons for a while. When going to $50 as the base price, do you keep Facebook ads basically the same, i.e., what makes Facebook ads special if they aren't deals?
Yeah, so when we switched to the $50 oil changes, let me see if I can just pull one up for you, Ben. We didn't advertise it as a special anymore. We started doing the brand building and storytelling that centered around it being a flat price, and we were doing brand building and storytelling around the transparency side of it. So we weren't saying oil change deal, oil change special. I'm pretty sure all of our creative and all of our copy centered around, um, and I'll find one real quick to share, but I'm pretty sure it all centered around the idea of transparency and price transparency, and not that it's a quote unquote deal. So I've got one right here that I will share real quick. This is Poland, Ohio. Share screen. So the ad itself, all oil changes are $50, and then the bottom line was least expensive full synthetic oil change in town. This actually was a highly successful ad because it got a lot of people um, to comment on it, which drives down the cost per click because they were like, so and so is cheaper, so and so. So all these people would hop in the comments and they would love to say so and so is cheaper, so and so is cheaper. And that was the same with this ad in September. For the month of September was, you will not find a, we didn't even have the price in this one. It was, you will not find a less expensive full synthetic oil change than us. If we are wrong, dot 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 dot. So so yeah, the copy and the creative when we made this price switch was not about it being a special or a coupon. It was just the everyday price, kind of a la Sam Walton style with the Walmart kind of everyday low prices. All right, we've got 10 minutes left. I just got the notification.
Yep. Holly said, when transitioning to the $50 model, how are fleets handled?
So for fleets, typically the benefit that they get is if they give you a W-9, then they don't have to pay sales tax, and then you can also transition them to net 30 billing. And so for them, it's not so much the price discount that they're looking for. For some of them, it might be, but you're already going to be less expensive than whoever their fleet was before. So you kind of have to just stand 10 toes on that and stand firm and just say, you know, you're getting a ton of benefits with our model, period, by being a fleet with us.
Yeah. So as far as fleets coming into the corporate stores or the company-owned stores, they have the benefit of the pricing, right? There's even going to Jiffy Lube or Valvoline or any of the other locations, fleets are still paying those $70, $80, $90 for a full synthetic, over $100 for a full synthetic. The number one way to lead into it is going to be talking to them about saving money. I'll tell you right now that they're not spending $50 on a full synthetic oil change. So that's the benefit of us, is the pricing.
Yeah, and Holly, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the angle that you're coming at with this question is, are they going to say, am I getting a better deal than the average customer off the street? Otherwise, what's the point of being a fleet? If that's, you know, if that's what you're talking about, then my answer is more, you got to stand on the benefits that are given and not just the price benefits.
Awesome. So everybody, thanks for joining. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in your channel in Slack. Costa's in there, I'm in there, Deb's in there. We could all see them. Been answering some of you guys on the side as you guys have been putting questions in. So please feel free to do that. We are recording this, so I will be sending this out once it's all downloaded and compressed and everything. I will be sending this out into the announcements channel. So anybody that was on the call or maybe missed something, or you weren't able to join the call, you will be able to watch this back.
And Brian, to answer your question, we have a video on YouTube for that very specific thing. All right. Again, anybody wants to ask a question in their channel, feel free, head over to our YouTube channel. We have so much good content over there, not only for like fluff, but also very actionable things, which I think is really what everyone's looking for, is what can we do to put people through our doors. We will break here. I will get everything in YouTube up on part 1, part 2 for the town hall. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a safe holidays. And we are looking forward to a incredibly successful 2026 because we just had a record 2025. And I think there's a lot of good things to come, especially as the pressures mount on our competitors and we continue to grow. So thanks again, everybody. And we will see you all later.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.